So if we can tee that up. Okay, so when you talk about interoperability and you talk about cross-jurisdictional law enforcement cooperation, that's it right there in front of your very eyes. That's how it routinely works, and that's how it worked last night. But let the ages of the two that we apprehended last night sink in a little bit. 16 years old. 16. Something has gone terribly wrong in their lives for them to be committing such brazen, violent, vicious, ruthless acts like this one. So immediately, 21 firearms hit the streets last night. 2 long guns and 19 handguns. Most of the handguns were semi-automatic pistols. And if not for our collective efforts, those 21 firearms would be in the greater National Capital Region right now. So while this was great proactive police work, I'd argue it's also preventive police work, because we were able to recover 13, still, what's my math? Still 7 or 8 outstanding, 8 outstanding. But we were able to get the majority of those guns back last night before they ended up in the wrong hands and harming or killing someone today or in days to come. So, Captain Curry, just go over the play-by-play, and then we'll turn it over to the Special Agent in charge.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chief. The video does probably much better than what I could possibly do describing to you in words, but I'll try and fill in some of the blanks for what happened. Last night, around 1:21 in the morning, our officers received an alarm at 7200 Fullerton Road down in Springfield. It was dispatched within 30 seconds. Within 5 minutes, our officers arrived on scene. What they found was the remnants of that scene that you saw in the video there. The truck was gone. Our dispatch was working very diligently, getting hold of the owner of that store, who was able to provide from his surveillance footage a good description of the vehicle that was involved. Cops do exactly what they do. They went to work, they started canvassing, they started scavenging the entire area, looking for any possible vehicle that could be involved, and they got lucky. Not lucky, they were good. They found what we were looking for on Boston Boulevard, which is about a mile away from our crime scene. They found the Toyota Tacoma that was involved in breaking into that store. So from there, they started looking around. They found evidence that a second vehicle, was likely stolen from that area. That Toyota Tacoma had been stolen in Montgomery County on March 21st. But they looked in the area, they saw broken glass, they found similar style vehicles in that area. They believed that we were looking for a Hyundai Tucson that was stolen with federal license plates. They started checking LPRs and quickly realized that a vehicle matching this description had entered Maryland crossing the American Legion Bridge. Helicopter was already in the sky, and very quickly what you saw is what our helicopter saw. Fortunately, with the light foliage, we saw two individuals running up a hill from a nearby park. That address was over in West Deer Park Road in Gaithersburg. Again, as Chief mentioned, really good coordination with Montgomery County Police, keeping our eyes in the sky, watching these individuals as they made their way through their neighborhood. At that hour, it's very clear that they were possibly involved in this crime. So we got Montgomery County in there, and that's when you saw these individuals from our camera dumping backpacks into the back of trash cans. So fortunately, through the coordination in the air down to the ground, we were able to take these individuals in custody. What you saw was two of the juveniles, two 16-year-olds that were taken into custody. There was a third that was with them, but very shortly after they parked that second stolen vehicle, that third one went a different direction. We followed the two that had a backpack, and that's what led us to those two suspects, and that's what led us to the firearms, the 13 firearms that have been recovered. So what our investigation looks like right now, we're still searching for 8 missing firearms. We're still working to identify that third individual. Good thing is we know who 2 of these players are, and it's only a matter of time before we know who this third individual is. As Chief mentioned, these crimes are very brazen, but in past experience, our investigations were relentless and we're very successful in finding these, and that's the same attitude that we take forward towards this. So the crimes and the charges that these individuals are looking forward to right now in Maryland, they will be charged with possession of stolen auto, possession of stolen firearms, and as we look into Virginia, as we continue our investigation, charges that they will likely face are going to be related to the stolen vehicle, the burglary, 21 counts of the stolen firearms, and whatever else our investigation unfolds here. But this is very early. Very happy to share the 13 recovered firearms and the 2 in custody, but it's far from over. So before we take any questions, I'll pass it off to Special Agent in charge.
Good afternoon. My name is Anthony Spotswood. I'm the Special Agent in charge of ATF at the Washington Field Division. I appreciate the invitation to stand with our state and local partners, along with the Chief and the other law enforcement agencies that we had the chance to work with earlier today. Today, multiple individuals thought it was a good idea to ram a vehicle into a federal firearms licensee, a gun store, and steal firearms. Let me be very clear, this is never a good idea. There's no place for this in our community, and we will make sure that we continue to work alongside our partners and have a response that's swift so that we can hold these individuals to justice along with anybody else who decides to make bad ideas like this. Once we were notified in the wee hours of the morning, we dispatched both criminal enforcement agents and industry operations investigators to the scene of the FFL. Our industry operations investigators is working with Dominion right now to inventory their entire store to make sure that we know all the firearms that are stolen along with the identifiers of those firearms. Our criminal enforcement team worked alongside with the local police department to ensure that the scene was secure and to start the initial parts of that investigation. Fortunately for us, we have agents in every city, in every county, in every state of this country. So it was very easy for us to dictate and provide resources not only here in Fairfax County, but then over to Montgomery County to follow up on the investigation to ensure that we had continuity in that investigation. We will continue to work with our state and local counterparts. We will continue to look at it from the federal side, both from the possession of these illegal firearms and from these juveniles who were involved in this FFL burglary. What we do know is when these firearms are stolen, they're not to be taken to the range. These firearms are stolen because they're going to be used in criminal incidents. They're going to be used to harm people in our local communities. So we're going to continue to utilize the resources that we have and provide whatever resources we can to the chief and to Montgomery County to ensure that we can bring these individuals to justice. Thank you.
Any questions?
Chief, can you speak to how many times this particular store has been hit? I think it's 2, 3, I know we've covered a few of these incidents, and is this store doing something wrong, or
Yeah.
is something you can say to how other stores around the county can protect themselves?
Sure. So, the persons responsible for this crime are the criminals themselves. So I want to say that
Yeah.
up front. There was obviously a burglary back in December, was an attempted burglary at Dominion. Back in September was a successful burglary where the 4 juveniles stole 14 firearms. There was another attempted burglary on Independence Day, 2024. That was glass that was smashed, unsuccessful. And then going back to April of 2023, there was a burglary where 50 firearms were stolen. So, as a special agent in charge Spotswood described, these are federal firearms licensees, and if you go back just to April of 2023, 2 years ago, nearly, 50 firearms, and then 14 in September of 24, and now 21 last night. So those are a lot of guns. They can do a lot of harm to communities and families and individuals that suddenly hit the streets. Collectively, we've been very successful in our criminal investigations, holding people accountable. But I think your question probably speaks to maybe some target hardening efforts that all business owners should contemplate. And that's why a couple months ago we stood up a program. It's unique. It's the only one in the area. It's called Connect Fairfax County. We now have technology that allows anyone with a camera of any type, from Ring doorbells to the most sophisticated camera technology systems, to choose to either register their cameras with the Fairfax County Police Department or integrate their cameras. I recommend that FFLs and other commercial facilities that have things of value, particularly things of value that when they hit the street can harm or kill people, to really think hard about integrating their cameras with the Fairfax County Police Department's real-time crime center. Thankfully, last night it all worked the way it should. So the burglar alarm goes off, 911 is notified immediately, and we have cops on the scene within 5 minutes, and they're finding the first of 2 cars associated with these bad guys. It all worked as it should, but we know that there's sometimes circumstances where there may be a gap in a burglary or alarm company notification to public safety communications. So that's why we encourage our entire community, residential and commercial, to connect Fairfax County and either register or integrate your camera with the police department. It's so important. Matt?
Chief, outside of the surveillance system, I mean, they used a vehicle to break into a store. Is there anything else a store can do? I mean, are we talking about ballards here? Are we talking about even stronger reinforcement? I mean, this was a truck.
So as you make your way around the community, whether it's Fairfax County or elsewhere, and you come across some of these commercial establishments, and and I'm thinking of some by name that I won't name, but they have target hardened by using ballards and other environmental designs that would make it more challenging for this type of crime to occur with that method of ramming a vehicle through the front doors. And we stand ready. We have community outreach officers who will visit any home or any business in Fairfax County and give advice for business owners, residents, to target harden their home or their business. So it's a conversation that we should all take very seriously, and it's one we're committed to continuing to work to improve. Yes, ma'am.
Do these teen suspects know each other from September to now, or are they part of the same group, or are they just randomly, I want to hit that store up, another group of teens, I want to hit that store up?
So different group of bad guys altogether. That's one of the first things we look at. Are these people who are known to us and have attempted this before? And the answer in this particular case at the moment is we don't believe that the 2 arrested last night, the 2 being charged in Maryland, have anything to do with the previous burglary crimes or burglary attempts. There are young people today in 2025, and that's why I kind of started out by saying it seems like the key to being a thief these days is to be utterly brazen. So the increasing brazenness of these crimes concerns law enforcement here in Fairfax and federal, state, local, locally and nationally. The utter fortitude, intestinal fortitude it takes for anyone, particularly a 16-year-old, to get up the guts to steal a car and then violently run it into a building for the purpose of stealing guns takes a level of thinking and determination and callous ruthlessness that I typically still don't associate with 16-year-olds. And maybe I'm the eternal optimist, I don't know. But it's something that's a larger societal question that I probably can't solve. Drew?
Not to harp on the same question, but I mean, you've been outspoken in the past when we have these, you know, serial burglaries at Tyson's Galleria, right? And nobody wants a Rolex watch stolen in their community, but that's a completely different situation than guns. So, I mean, going back to it almost seems like there should be I don't want to make it something, a different standard of protecting the community from what could be stolen. So again, I guess going back to the question you've already answered twice, I mean, what are those conversations like with stores like this, especially when you have, my quick math, 84 guns that in the last less than 2 years that have hit the streets, some of them recovered?
Yeah. Well, no business owner that I know, even any federal firearms licensee that I've ever had a conversation with, wants their store broken into like this, wants to be associated with umpteen guns hitting the streets. And the regulatory functions of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, they do this. They are the subject matter experts in America. So the inspections and the audits and the things that are underway right now, like Special Agent in Charge Spotswood talked about, exist to make sure that FFLs are doing all the things that the law requires them to do. And then just to put icing on that cake, we want to encourage people, compel people, cajole, twist their arms into registering their cameras with us. Integrate, not just register. If you're a homeowner, maybe you register, but if you're a business like this one, integrate your camera with us so we can see something before maybe even a burglar alarm is even tripped, particularly if you have an exterior camera and we can see some pending or stirring criminal activity in your parking lot. So before that alarm is tripped, we might see something in the parking lot thanks to you sharing your camera with us and integrating your camera with us that allows us to get cops there even faster. Matt, go ahead,
Sorry,
Drew, and then Matt.
sorry, Matt. I don't know, Chief, this is for you, especially you're in charge, but these are firearms that were stolen and then trafficked across state lines. I realize you're not a federal grand jury, but anticipation of federal charges in a case like this, generally speaking, perhaps?
Yeah, so the first thing I wanted to be known is these FFLs, these firearms licensees, are our first level of defense, right? They're the ones who's calling us, they're the ones who's getting alarms, they're the ones who's hardening their locations, putting in video cameras to ensure that we have the proper evidence. None of that would exist without that first level of defense. So we at ATF frequently have conversations with them and talk about best practices and things that we can do from looking at FFL burglaries around the country and finding out ways that we can do a better job in ensuring that this doesn't happen in our communities. But they are very receptive. Anytime we have an incident like this is the first people that we get on the phone and talk to and get access and everything along those lines. As far as federal charges, we're always looking at something like this. We're looking at the fact that they're juveniles. We're looking at the evidence that's involved. We're going to have a conversation with the United States Attorney's Office and determine if this is a case that we can take on the federal side or if this is a case that's best left to the state prosecutors.
Do we know?
You, sir, and Mike.
I was just gonna say, if we know anything about these juveniles, I'm assuming at some point we've looked at their record and criminal history. Are they in high school anywhere? Is anything, I know there's not a lot we can share about 16-year-olds, but anything else you might be able to shed light on?
Not only is there not a lot you can share about them, there's not a lot I can say about it. So certainly logical questions, but right now we're concerned with the immediacy of the criminal investigation that's still ongoing, making sure that we didn't miss any guns that may have been taken and getting that count right, and working with Montgomery County prosecutors, working with Fairfax County prosecutors, and ultimately working with the ATF and U.S. Attorney's Office to see if there may be an avenue for some interest there. Yes, sir.
If these suspects are found guilty, what kind of realistic sentence do you expect these juveniles to actually serve when it's all said and done?
Yeah, I don't know, and I would just be guessing if I were to throw out a number, but my kind of view on the criminal justice system, for what it's worth, is criminal misconduct has to be interrupted. So what does that interruption look like? There has to be a consequence. If there's not a consequence, that means your criminal misconduct isn't interrupted. So I've never been a big proponent of long sentences necessarily, but it has to be long enough and consequential enough for it to deter you from returning to that lifestyle. Breaking into a gun store by using a stolen car to smash into it is not an addiction. You choose to do that. And when you choose to do that, ultimately, even a 16-year-old has to contemplate or ponder the consequences of getting caught. So if we're at a point in society where pondering the consequences doesn't add up to maybe I shouldn't do this, then maybe we should look at the swiftness and severity of the consequences.
Is there a chance, real quick, that maybe these younger kids were working for a group that may have been more, that were adults?
I don't want to speculate. We have nothing that points in that direction right now, but it's certainly something that our detectives look at very, very carefully. Yes, sir, and then you, Mike.
Okay, first of all, good job.
Thank you.
I applaud you guys for doing the best job you do. And not to harp on this, and just to piggyback off of what these two gentlemen said, as a parent first, then a photojournalist second, as I rolled up onto the scene, I noticed that there were no, I guess the word was balances to keep the car from plowing into the car. And I know that we were talking about, I think you used the word target hardening, and the information that you would give them in order to make their store more hard to break into. Any information or why that wasn't done or wasn't followed, because they have a history of being broken into?
That's a very good question. So the recommendations and the advice that we give and the compliance mandated laws that ATF enforces somehow still hasn't gotten us to a point where this gun store is no longer being broken into. We're here again, Groundhog Day, right? We're here again, and something needs to change. So that's something that we take seriously, and we have no reason to believe that the federal firearms licensee doesn't feel the same way. No one wants this to happen again, but we got to take some proactive steps. I think about Target stores years ago, and they put those circular ballards up in front of their stores, and they were kind of the first one to really take seriously environmental design, both exterior and interior. And maybe we just need a renewed effort considering the brazen acts of some of these crimes. Mike?
Yeah, and you may have said this, but I just wanted to confirm. You said that they are facing possession of stolen firearm charges in Maryland, and the Virginia charges are pending.
Right.
Are they still in custody of Montgomery County Police?
Yes, they're in custody. They're actually, in Maryland, if you are in illegal possession of a firearm in Maryland, state law requires you, or gives the local police the ability to charge you as an adult. So these two are charged as adults because they're 16 and they're in illegal possession of a firearm in Maryland. So those charges are right here, right now. The charges that we are considering and working toward will be similar and some different charges because the burglary occurred here in Fairfax County. And then we'll work with the ATF and the U.S. Attorney's Office to see what, if any, federal possibilities may exist. But that's a high bar.
Yeah, so is the prosecution going to have to go through Maryland before you can charge, or can you charge now?
So we can certainly charge now, and when we have enough evidence to charge, and that'll be in a matter of short amount of time, we will. Sometimes police departments will take advantage of the fact that our bad guys are detained elsewhere, and they're detained elsewhere, so it gives us a moment to make sure that we have all the possible charges gathered, and we dot I's and cross T's. But they're going to be criminally charged in Fairfax County, no doubt about it.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Then you, Matt.
How much time are we looking at? I know you said you all were alerted and was on the scene within 5 minutes, but how much time are you looking at between when your officers arrived to when these guys were caught? I mean, obviously it was a collaborative effort with everybody in Montgomery County, but it has to be relatively quick to get in that kind of type of space that quickly.
Yeah, when you look in, when they first backed that Tacoma into the back of the building, they're in and out within a minute. So initial call starts coming in around 1:21, dispatched almost immediately, and by the time our officers even put it into gear, those guys are pretty much on their way out. I'll follow up exactly when we took them into custody out in Montgomery County, but overall, helicopter, very quick response from the homeowner, getting us the information and locating that vehicle and then taking him into custody. So it was short work, but we'll get the definitive time.
And they stole two cars, this crew? You
Yes.
said there was you said Tundra, not that it matters per se, but you say Tundra in the release, and I think you said Tacoma, same, different.
Yeah.
Which one was it?
Tundra.
It was a Tundra.
Yeah.
And they also stole a Hyundai,
That's correct.
both in Fairfax County? You said,
Yes.
no, the one was in Maryland.
Originally, it was in Montgomery County. They came to Fairfax with the stolen car,
Got it.
committed the burglary, ditched it, and got in another car that they
Gotcha.
stole.
I know I'm in the weeds a little bit there.
No, that's good, that's good. So, just a moment to highlight our helicopter division.
Yeah.
It's world-class. And not only does our helicopter, our aviation, serve Fairfax County, it serves the entire Northern Virginia and greater National Capital Region. Not every big police department has its own helicopter division. We do, and we're really proud of it. They do extra things with blood transfusions and patient transports that most police departments don't do. And you saw it with your own eyes. They were, cool, calm, and collected. And there go the bad guys. Not many people are out for a sprint at that time of night. So they did a really great job. And the interoperability that didn't always exist, even throughout the course of my career, being able to communicate with other jurisdictions on a shared radio channel, that's not, that's not too new. So it all worked and came together.
The infrared technology's come light years too, huh?
Yeah, it lights them up.
It's incredible.
It lights them up. The leaves aren't back on the trees yet. Cherry blossom season, tidal basin, blood.
Stage 5 is safe.
Stage 5. I was told stage 5 this morning. Stage 5.5.
Yeah, we got a cherry
Right
blossom
about there.
update here too. That's awesome.
Were
Good man.
the 13 guns found, were they found in the stolen vehicle, in the backpacks that were
In the area.
13 or 14?
13.
13.
And 13 of the 21 recovered. And you saw, and you'll probably get a chance to watch the video again. You see him taking the backpacks and tossing them in a
Were
trash
they all
can.
in that backpack?
Most.
Yeah, most were, but in that general area where helicopter found them.
And then what kind of guns again? that were stolen?
We'll get to you greater detail, but 19 of the 21 are considered handguns. Now, a handgun can be a semi-automatic pistol, it can be a revolver. I'm guessing most are semi-automatic pistols, and the 2 long guns are just longer guns with a rifle barrel.
And were these guns, any of them with tracking devices? I understand that there were the license plate from the stolen car that entered into Maryland. Were there any
Yeah.
other tracking devices that helped police?
Well, the tracking device that we know helped us out the very most was the license plate readers that told us where they were going. So that was instrumental in us being able to put eyes on them and ultimately to see them bail out of the car and run and capture them.
Did the guns have air tags?
What's that?
Did the guns have air tags?
So if that investigative piece is not something that I think we're ready to share just yet.
Were those townhomes that they jumped in? and
It looked like it.
fence? Yeah.
It looked like it, yeah. So thank you all.
Thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you all for joining today. Our PIOs are going to stick around to answer